Yes, this was the biggest line of Frappuccinos that I had ever seen us produce. If only we knew how to spell Frappuccino. What could possibly go wrong? Every other day, the sanitizer would overflow. Oh my gosh, that store was hot trash. I was working my tail off, was not getting the recognition that I believed I deserved. And I was putting so much of the blame on myself. I mean, shoot, how do you pull yourself out of that?
Bending on my habits when I cared about my status. Let it go. No such thing as magic. I'm an artist with my tactics. You should know. Middle meanings, it's a lot to get out. Getting even, getting caught on the ground.
Here from Sun Valley Rack, going over our best practice for hook look returns. Hi, good morning. We're here from Sun Valley Rack. Good afternoon. Today we're going to do our favorite thing that we do here at Rack, and that's hook look reticketing. Okay, even though there's that massive stack of returns, I'm going to be real with it, and Nordstrom was actually one of the best companies that I have worked for. Just so many incredible and talented individuals I've met over the years, and oh yeah, all the real ones, you know who you are. I will always have a place in my heart for all the members of my team who believed in me as their leader through all the good shifts, some of the hard shifts, because that's retail, but I made sure that we all cared about each other and did it together as a team. And even my own managers would also make sure that my development was their priority, and they gave me all the resources that I needed to be the best version of myself. And that's pretty much Nordstrom in a nutshell. It is a culture that believes in everyone's success depends on each other's success. But yeah, there were those nights where you just looked at the sales floor and the cash wrap and you're like, dang, how do we get ourselves out of this one tonight? And the thought that crosses my mind would be, how did I get myself into this? Like, this is not what I signed up for when I went to the University of Arizona as a computer engineering major. What changed? Well, I have Starbucks to thank for that change, because I decided to leave my path of engineering and switch to an easier degree in the business college so that I can focus on becoming a shift supervisor for Starbucks. And oh, how I played myself on that one. Well, immediately after graduating and applying for jobs, I soon realized the mistake that I had made. Like, you can imagine how pale and lifeless my face would get just seeing application after application getting rejected in my email thread. Like, you could just imagine how ridiculous and audacious my resume must have looked like to any engineering or consulting recruiter where they only see Starbucks as my job experience. Like, they're looking at my resume like, who is this clown trying to work for us? And I kid you not, even Starbucks itself wouldn't hire me for one of their corporate positions. Well, thank goodness, eventually Forever 21 would answer my call and offer me my first full-time job after college as an assistant manager. Although, believe me, the pay sucked. It was like $10 an hour. But I don't take any of that experience for granted. I gained so much leadership experience there. Like, they throw you in head first at Forever 21. Not to mention, we were a tight-knit group over there, and I have met so many of my lifetime friends at that store that I still stay connected with today. So huge shout out to you all. I gotta give you your props and your flowers for continuing to pursue your creative passions. And yeah, that actually inspires me as well to continue my pursuit of my dreams. So even though I left behind that engineering side of me with Starbucks, I still have the passion for videography, and all of this experience and the people I met, I wouldn't have had those opportunities if it weren't for the hardships of Starbucks. It was all good vibes at Speedway in Wilmot, where it was still popping off. Meanwhile, at 22nd and Kolb, the vibes just felt like trash. Do you get it? Okay, seriously though. The vibes at 22nd and Kolb though legit were somber. Like, it had become one of the slowest stores while the party just moved over to Speedway in Wilmot. And I really felt like I was left behind and just alone in my own thoughts, which, were not rational by any means. Like, I just thought things were unfair and I was left behind. And no, this was not a healthy mentality to have, just dwelling on it. And you'd think that I would just be down and out, right? Well, no. Instead, I went like the path of insanity, like laughing about it, like, you guys think that I can't step it up and be the best barista that you have ever seen? Just try me, you. Not getting that opportunity to go to Speedway in Wilmot really upped my motivation to really showcase my skills as a closing barista. And obviously looking back at it now, like, that was just young and dumb, right? Like, there is no such thing as a best barista. Like, I legit just played myself and I was getting way too deep into it. And even though I tried to reconnect with my new team, nothing ever quite felt the same.
I'm so high at the moment, I'm so caught up in this. Yeah, we're just young, dumb, and broke, but we still got love to give while we're young, dumb, young, dumb, and broke. Young, dumb, young, dumb, and broke. Young, dumb, young, dumb, and broke.
That was a lot that just went down. That was a lot that just happened. And to summarize it, I went from an engineering major, decided to pursue a path of business so I could focus on Starbucks and maybe getting that supervisor promotion, which I was passed for. And instead, they took some of their favorite baristas instead to Speedway in Wilmot, promoted them. And that actually hit me twofold because a lot of them were my friends too. So once they left, there was no one to fill in that void with all of these changes going on suddenly to me. I don't know, could this be possibly a pending recipe for chaos? Well, when it comes to me, chaos loves to find me. What can I say? So spring of 2005. A typical day in the life of me would be to go to class first thing in the morning and then followed up with my shift at Starbucks to close it down, which meant coming to the store full of dishes, items that needed to be prepped like whipped cream, mocha, just doing whatever I could to help the next day's team be successful. Meanwhile, we didn't even have anything to sell at nighttime other than maybe a few dried, reduced fat lemon zucchini muffins, which is actually ironic that back in the day they thought that the fat was the problem. But lo and behold, it's actually the sugar that's the problem these days. But don't tell that to Starbucks. Yeah, even on the weekends where I had full availability, the store manager just never wanted to have me work in the mornings. And I never had work-life balance. It seemed I was always doing mid-shifts on the weekends and never had time to go out. One thing that I realized as a closer, not just Starbucks, but this probably applies to many other retail jobs as well, is you just don't get the respect, I think, being a closer as some of the openers do. Like, for some reason, when you're opening a store, whether it's visuals at a clothing store or a opener at Starbucks where you get to work mostly with the managers, feels like all the openers are the ones that end up getting the most recognition for the rushes, the early morning rush, whereas the closers are just expected to do a good job mopping, cleaning, and prepping the openers for all of the good work that the openers do. And going back to the scheduling, I actually had an opportunity to get more hours by covering barista shifts at the other nearby stores. You see, in Arizona, we didn't have as many labor laws, meaning that we could work over 8 hours in a single day and still not get daily overtime, which, yeah, sucked as an employee, but that also meant that I could work a double shift during the same day. And it wasn't even just for the money, because this was like $7 an hour. So it wasn't like I was making a ton of money by doing these double shifts. I was doing it because I wanted to prove myself as one of the most friendly and helpful people that they could meet. However, though, I remember there was one day where I was talking to a neighboring store manager and telling them about some of the concerns that I had at my store. And what should have been a private conversation, at least with a store or a manager of integrity, they ended up leaking this conversation to my 22nd and Kolb store manager, who ended up actually writing me up for some of the comments that I had made. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin, because we all should have that just natural instinct that any employee comment to a leader should be taken, as constructive feedback. Like myself as a manager at Nordstrom many years ago, whenever I got feedback from an employee that they weren't happy about anything, that right there is a sign that I myself as a leader need to change something, or if the store has a process that needs to be addressed, we have to look at it. Like, you can't just punish the employees for saying something negative. I mean, have you seen what's going on at Boeing right now? Or even what Howard Schultz, the Starbucks CEO, actually said maybe a year ago about unions. Like, if you don't like working for Starbucks, you can go work somewhere else. Like, this is not a surprise at all, because this is like the things that Starbucks would do, again, 20 years ago with me, that, I say something to one store manager at a different store, and they tell my store manager what I said. And instead of saying, hey, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're not feeling, happy about this process or the way that maybe our communication is, instead, it's all my fault as the barista, nothing to do with the way the stores ran. That is insane, right?
I was so solo, and I got hollow. How did it feel for you to say so clearly? You could walk away, creased and folded. You could take another seat and hold your own. I wasn't gonna run away, but I was there today.
Yeah, it didn't help matters much when the new manager at 22nd and Kolb just seemed to just not get along with me that well. And we're always going to have those couple of leaders in our career where, for whatever reason, there's just a personality and a communication conflict. And it's nothing to do with necessarily either person, but when you put the two together, it just doesn't add up to a very good combination. It's kind of like, you don't put bleach and ammonia together, although you can put pineapple and pizza, definitely belong together, but you get it. The new store manager was more of a micro leader, meaning that I think they like to have more control over the way shifts were ran. And I actually felt as a closer that we kind of had to maintain our own priority list, right? Because some things as you're closing, have to flex. You can't just say, I want to mop whenever I want to. Oh, I want to go ahead and go to the back to do dishes whenever I want to. Like, no. Those things have to flow in with your traffic flow. And as traffic changes, your priorities will shift as well. And I feel like our new manager really just had a list in their mind. These are the things that have to be done. I don't want you guys to improvise this. But I'm very much on the party of, you kind of have to improvise depending on who you have on shift, their skill level, their confidence level. And again, what does your traffic look like that day? And based on that, you're gonna have to flex your priorities. Look what we've got here, a performance review for baristas. And they have their core Starbucks competencies. And you think those would be like customer service, coffee, craftsmanship, but nope. Let me show you, let's see what my performance opportunities were. And I'm gonna cover my signature if you guys don't need to see that, all right? But anyway, so Jeff's largest opportunity is to relax and be yourself. Oh, that's kind of cool, to be myself. Oh, but also, Jeff needs to work on his tone of voice because it can sometimes conflict with what he's saying in a negative way. Interesting. So that's one thing as an 18-year-old that I probably didn't question as much as I should have. I just said, okay, I'll do whatever I need to keep my job. But that's not okay. And Starbucks, shame on you guys for calling people out on the way that they represent themselves. Now, I'm not afraid of being critical of myself, and yeah, I agree that tone of voice is important, as well as actually a smile in a first impression, and not just customer service, but really in any interaction with other humans. But some people, let's be real, are naturally inclined to not have the most agreeable resting face or tone of voice. So they need to work harder than others to actually be aware of it and to actually force themselves over time to change that behavior if they even can. Obviously, if you can do it, that is great. But you shouldn't have to force people to change their way again that they speak. So I think this was the breaking point for me with 22nd and Kolb. Like, the relationship was beyond therapy and any repair at this point. I needed a new leadership team and new peers that I can relate to a little bit more. I just didn't feel like I was in a place where I belonged anymore. And this is a lesson that a lot of people can actually learn from. And that is, there is no shame in accepting when something is no longer working and it's time to walk away. And this could be a job, it could be a relationship where, again, like, you no longer feel like there is a connection, you're no longer growing, or you just don't feel like you're happy anymore. And that is the moment where things need to change. And some of that change could be yourself, but if that doesn't work, then leaving the environment is going to be that next step. However, I was not ready to give up on Starbucks quite yet. And in fact, I decided to transfer to another location, this time Broadway and Howden, the store that I had actually first trained at. Now, what if I would have done a different career path, you would say? Well, we cannot focus on the what ifs. Thankfully though, the story gets a lot better and I have an instant impact at the new store. And this is where I start meeting some lifetime friends at Starbucks, such as Charity, who encouraged me to start also pursuing my other passions finally, like photography, making videos. I even start to pursue a theater arts minor at the university. So a lot of great changes ahead, and I can't wait to share with you the next set of stories here at Starbucks. And I don't think I could have been as successful or a natural leader if I didn't take away as much of these growing pains through Starbucks as I did. Now, do I wish that I would have spent less time at Starbucks? That would be a definite yes. I believe that I walked away from Starbucks with the scars that I did so that I could be stronger when I took on my role at Forever 21 right after leaving. If there's any advice I can give to anyone who's aspiring to grow in a retail or food service career, and that is a smile and positive energy can go a long way in filling the cup of those around you, not just yourself, right? Because, customer service can empty someone's cup very quickly because of how demanding the roles can be. So if you can be that spark and the person who fills other people's cup of joy, motivation, you already have almost everything you need to be a natural leader. And while the sun had officially set for me at 22nd and Kolb, this was the beginning of a new chapter. Not only with Starbucks at Broadway and Howden, but I was really beginning to discover myself and prioritize my own passions over the job. And it's so funny how things work out, because the moment that you start finding yourself and finding true happiness, that's when things just start working out. And I would actually get a promotion to a Shift Supervisor the following year. So I look forward to sharing with you some more Starbucks stories over the next few episodes. And I hope that you all have a great day. Thank you again, and take care.